proudest day, and the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears, the Rally Podcast, the 2025 season, and this week we're going to look back at the Rally of the Lakes and also get a kind of a behind the scenes sort of in the WRC. But Connor, Rally of the Lakes last weekend, epic, I suppose is the only word we can really use to describe it.
Yeah, listen, a great rally, fantastic weather, fantastic setup, event ran really well, and plenty of drama out there in the stages.
That's for sure. And, you know, Callum and Noel took their fourth one now. That's just fantastic. And, you know, it was really nip and tuck all day Saturday. And then Callum on the gap, just, I don't know where he pulled it out of, but just once again just showed that he can pull that out of his back pocket when he needs to. And twice over at the gap, he pulled out fantastic times.
Yeah, look, it's just one of those stages he's absolutely at home on. Like, he really is at one with the car on that stage, and same with Ballybina. And, you know, he produces every year something phenomenal in Killarney, and he comes back and he does it again and again and again. And it is exceptional. It really is.
Yeah, I think back to 2019. I remember him telling the story about watching Craig Breen, you know, adjusting the car between the stages and, you know, wondering what he was at and figuring this out. It just shows he's a sponge. He takes all this information and pulls it all in and then uses it, and that has to be applauded. So, yeah, fair play for them two guys. And we get a chance then, I thought the modified battle was just something else as well too. So we get a chance then to talk to, it was Rob Duggan, Colin O'Donoghue and Andy Hayes. Andy was sitting with Conor Shanahan, you know, pro drifter, but a really good rally driver as well.
Absolutely. What, third time in a rally car? And like really was setting up some phenomenal times, and you know, a strong performance, and you can only think there's plenty more there to come.
That's for sure. So in a few minutes we'll hear from those three guys, and then we also talk to John Archer, you know, one of the guys behind Hankook and WRC, and like we have to say, Hankook has just settled in there so well, and the tyres seem to be performing really well.
That's it. You know, we're seeing it in both the RC and now in the WRC, and you know, strong performances, strong reliability, probably more than anything. I mean, over the last few years, we were very aware of, you know, the Rally One drivers' complaints about the number of deep eatings and the number of punctures that they had with the Pirellis, and prior to that with the Michelins, but doesn't seem to be an issue with the Hankooks so far.
No, so far so good. And again, you know, we keep saying this wee country, you know, like north and south, it's just phenomenal. Like John's one of our own again too, and we're producing guys at the absolute top level.
That's it. Like, you know, the tentacles reach far and wide into motorsport, you know, around the world. And it is amazing how many people from this island are involved behind, I know, not just driving or co-driving, but behind the scenes as engineers, as mechanics, as whatever in the sport. You know, it's just incredible how many stories there are out there of local guys and girls, you know, involved in the sport.
And John is another one of those disciples out of the Sydney Meek Motorsport. You know, how many heroes has that not produced? That, you know, that the Bush Performance Centre as it was originally, and then, you know, like, it's just amazing. Like, for such a, it's not right calling it a small outfit, but like, you know, like a homegrown business. Like, it's reached gone around the world.
Absolutely. You know, Sydney was an absolute engineering genius, really was. And, you know, we saw what he did with the Opel team. We saw what he, you know, both running the Mantas, and then for the actual Spanish Opel team running the courses. And then to go and develop the Orion and the other projects, the Gartrack G3 Escort that he's produced. You know, there's so much he was involved in, and came up with an engineered and re-engineered and never stopped tinkering.
And then the guys he surrounded himself with, you know, the quality of the men that work to him, like, you know, nearly they're a heartbeat of nearly every team, or have been at some point as well too. So, just absolutely phenomenal. But anyway, back to Killarney. I think now we'll hear from Rob Duggan, Colin O'Donoghue, and Andy Hayes. Rally of the Lakes at the weekend, sunshine, and some of the best rallying in the country. And Rob, you done it again, another one.
Yeah, another one to add to the list. Hopefully we get another good couple of them, but we'll take everyone we can get now at the moment. Yeah, it was a class weekend. Geez, from start to finish, the good weather, the good battles, savage stages, just crowds big, just good pace all weekend. No, it was a start to finish, just a cool event in fairness, and just good crack. It has been a while since we just had that much fun, and it's so easy to step out the car and have a bit of crack in the sunshine and get back in and go as hard as you can and have the crack. Like, sure, you can't ask for much more, really, can you?
No, and like you've been out of the car now for a few months. Like, does it take a wee bit of a bedding in process, or once you get back in there and pull on the belts, it almost feels natural again?
Yeah, I suppose the last time we pulled the flat shift in the car was the last stage in the historics. Unlike Colin now with all his testing, but
Yeah. Then a couple of months it didn't do too bad,
No. Look, it was, I just didn't get a chance to go out in the car, and the first stage we said, look, we'll just try and get through and be somewhere thereabouts, and we went up to the first hairpin and we pulled the handbrake and it went around it fairly good and into the next corner and it steered in, and I said, right, sure, look, it's the same thing as we were doing in the historics, and I go at it again, and a very gravelly first stage, I think, caught a good lot of us out. We'd one or two very close moments at the start, not even pushing that hard, just getting totally caught out with the amount of gravel that was there, and it just kind of pulled us back a notch and said, right, get through this one in and see where we are and see what's happening. But yeah, we had a good enough start, and like that, we just carried it on through the weekend as best we could.
And Colin, that's how rallying crack must be fairly easy then, if you can just step in the car and go like that.
Yeah, it was actually good. I was actually surprised how well we kind of adapted straight away. It usually takes a couple of stages to get back into it again. But no, it was like that. Rob kind of covered the whole lot of it, really. It was good crack, and the stages were savage, and the banter was good, and all of the above, really.
Yeah, because even from like the Friday night, the ceremonial start, the crowds it was about in town and everything, and the sunshine. Everybody just seemed to be really up for the crack and the bit of fun, and just there for the enjoyment as much as the rally.
Yeah, for sure. Even the club had put on had into the program like a flyer, and all the kids come around you and get you to sign autographs and stuff, which was unusual. It was a bit different for most rallies, It was nice to be able to do that for the crack and meet all locals as well, people that you'll be meeting in the street regularly. So it was class to just see them, and they'd take an interest in it as well. It was nice to see that as well.
Mm-hmm. Because Andy, we've often said, like, this is what rallying needs. It needs to be brought into the towns. It needs to be brought to the people. And to see, we initiatives like that, that's just fantastic, because we need young blood coming into the sport.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Yeah, it's brilliant to bring the rallies into the towns. Unfortunately, we didn't make the ceremonial start or anything, just with time and all the rest, and getting back out for brief and that kind of stuff. But geez, sort of, there was some crowd around it all weekend, and it's great atmosphere around. And then, especially even actually, I know it wasn't planned, but with the match on Sunday and the crowd around in Sunday night, and there was right crack in town afterwards. So. Now some of us were able to go home Monday, others weren't. They had to, Tuesday, but
Saturday night as well was good, ending. Oh yeah, Josh Moffat wanted to be watching himself, and he's getting fun in the national rally.
You should become one of you think, Colin?
Yeah.
You should become a modified man. But Rob, you said you had to almost pull yourself back a wee bit on that first stage, but you can't really afford to be pulling yourself back too much, because the talent's there. The quality of the cars. There's no easy rallies now.
No, definitely not. No, and like that, I suppose it probably wasn't the best modified entry on an entry list we've seen in a long time. But sure, then again, we were still going out. Myself and Colin were going to be battling for the local honours. Jono was there. There was probably 10 other lads coming up that could have been very close, like if they were going to be very close no matter what. So you couldn't go out and tip around the place either. It had to be fairly close to full tilt from the word go. And like that, I knew Colin was going to be very strong, and the bragging rights for our own Killarney were up for grabs. So we said we'd have to give it a good push for the weekend. And yeah, look, it worked out in our favour this weekend. But yeah, we'll take them while we can get them.
Yeah, and like, is there a lot of winding each other up and all before the event even starts? Is there a wee bit of stirring going on even before the rally starts?
Oh, Colin hasn't talked to me in 2 months.
I'm usually the fella ringing him, not the other way around, yeah. Looking for advice, yeah.
It is good banter winding more than anything. It's not anything bad or anything. It's we're still friends after it all and before it all, so it doesn't really matter. We go and we try and bait each other once the helmet goes on, but sure, whoever comes out on top comes out on top, and it's all thrown away. If it's Sunday night by 11 o'clock, no one cares anyway. It's all back to square one Monday morning, and it's the next time. Wins the next time we're going head to head again, and that's it. So it's it's good crack. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, all good.
And like Andy, your man Conor Shannon once again proved, like, we know he's a star, but to step into a rally car completely alien to him, and only had a very short test in the Milkman started before the event. Like, the guy has such a talent.
Yeah, to be fair to me, he's serious car control. Obviously we done the historics together, and that was his second rally. And then this is the third time out. I won't lie to you. I say about Junction 3, the first stage, on that gravity stage that the lads were talking about. And if anyone had given me any opportunity to get the hell out of there, I'd have been long gone. Got back up the road again. I said, this is some waste of time. This is an accident happening, and I wasn't kind of, if we're going to have an accident, it was going to be how sore it's going to be, and how long we'll be in Killarney in hospital afterwards when we get back home again. So that's what was going through my mind now in the first couple of junctions. But no, like that. Like the car control is serious, like, so even though like Conor wouldn't have big experience in notes and that kind of stuff, anywhere where you're kind of coming into a car, maybe you're coming in a bit hot and heavy, maybe, or that kind of stuff, he's able to get it, kind of compensate with the car control and pick her back up. If she got to a slide, or if he came into a bend maybe, and maybe the Titan or something like that, and caught halfway through it, he's able to collect her up every time and get over it. Like, so yeah, we got into a couple of little bits of hairy moments here and there, but every time he was able to just kind of fix it and get out and not panic. And that's the big thing, yourself, like the lads will tell you, like, it's all about not panicking when something goes wrong. You'll see lads having accidents when maybe car gets out of shape and then they panic and hit the brakes and it's all over. Whereas like Conor there, anything at all goes wrong, he just stays calm, collects the whole thing back up and keeps on going, and there's no big drama. So actually very similar. Josh actually drives very similar to that, So there's you'd never be nervous. So once we got over the first 3 or 4 junctions, and I realised, all right, this is the way it's going to be. The ship is going to move like this now, and much cause I'd miss a test and all the rest. Like, so that was the first experience I ever had in the car, and first time I was in probably something as quick as that in a long time. So I was watching. I was happy enough from there on. From stage 2 onwards, I have to say I had a ball. Really enjoyed it.
Because Colin, like from standing on the ditch watching what you guys are doing, like, it's so hard to comprehend how you can control a car and make it dance the way you do. But is it like a almost serene inside a lot of the time that you're working with the car is doing what you want it to do all the time?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Actually, it's probably the first weekend in, I don't know, in a long time since I felt that one with the car. Look, we had our bother on Saturday, right, and that was only electrical, but we were tinkering around with suspension all weekend and got it to where it was now. And Sunday was just absolutely class. Just felt like I don't know, you were playing an instrument or something. It just felt unreal. But yeah, especially them stages as well. That loop on Sunday is just, it's hard to beat. Like in your going the country, you'll match it, or even it will be better than most of them, But yeah, class, all right, to be fair.
Yeah, and like Rob, yeah, you are biased that it's your home turf and all, but like from the suns like that, the stages are in tip top condition, And there was no big cutting or nothing, so you just were getting the best of the road. It doesn't get
Yeah,
much better
definitely.
than
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No, it is brilliant. The stage of Saturday, right, did cut up that little bit. There was just the bit of gravel. The middle stage is whenever that runs, it's always gravelly, so we kind of knew it was going to be. But the first stage, Gorton again, never gets that bad, and that was kind of a bit of a shock to us all. Sunday then. Miles Gap, Alapima, they're the same no matter what time of the year you go into them or whatever's in front of you or behind you. They stay the same, because if you cut on Miles Gap or Alapima, you have a puncher or you're upside down or whatever. Shanara, the third stage on Sunday, it's a classic. It's like more like a national championship stage, but it's still a really good one, and it never really cuts up or gets too badly routed. So no, class loop of stages, and yeah, it was just brilliant to be driving on them, and the sun shiny as well. And yeah, the local one is always better. Sure, we stick to our locals ones. So we can only go quick down here, so we'll stick down here for now. So,
I think
it
the
is,
clock may lay.
yeah,
I think the
I'll
clock
stick
will
to
tell you
Miles
you can
Gap.
go anywhere in the country and be quick.
Geez, no, I don't know. Does everyone say that? But I will stick to Miles Gap for now. It is the easiest not to go quick on anyway.
We'll
We're
have to do a
looking for
church
somewhere to
gate
go there,
collection.
Rob. Look for somewhere to go extra. Look for somewhere to go extra run in September. 18 stages, 3x3 both days, 575 money for the top modified car. Requiem one day.
Dave is going in as we speak.
Yeah. I might have to move to Wexford, get a job transfer for a couple of months before. See, will I learn them all off things I can go quick and nowhere else. No, it's class. The stages down here are unbelievable, and like Colin said, it's hard beat it wherever you go in the country, and we're just lucky enough that we live very close to the whole lot of them. So yeah, it's definitely a class weekend.
And Rob, like, you've a really good, strong knowledge of Mall's Gap, but your two runs over it were an absolute masterclass. Like, you set the fastest. But would you look back on either run and think I could still make a bit of time, or I could gain a bit of time on this corner or that section?
The first run up, we did a couple of beer slides, and talking to Colin at the start of Ballapima, he had the same, and we were both kind of scratching our head wondering what, and we were messy about it then that we were going to. Colin was saying he was going to bang on a new set of rear tyres for the second run up there, and I was saying, Jesus, I didn't actually know was there any tyres left. They were running out of D3 Pirellis in service, so I was like, I don't know what we'll do, but we went back to service and we said we better put on a fresh set as well to see can we hold them off for another year. And to be fair, we both said we came out of the second run up there, and it was one of the, even though it's not the quickest time, but with the way the chicanes are changing and what, you never kind of know which chicanes are there, but there wasn't a whole pile left in the 830 up there, and we came off, we were scratching the head. We said if he beats us, that's impressive, and he was a second behind us, and sure, like that's only a blink of an eye. It's one touch of a brake pedal somewhere on the stage, and to come out within a second of a lad that you're around the town with 10 or 15 years, we're all quad biking, motorbiking together. Sure, you can't beat that. And I'm lucky enough that I came out on the right side of this one, but I'm sure he'll pit me at some stage, and he'll rub that in a night out too. But for now, we keep the bragging rights for another couple of months anyway.
And Colin, the 1 second, that's probably nearly as good as the stage one to you.
Yeah, it was class, to be fair. I'd say it was. I'm lucky enough to pip him once, and I pipped him in 18, and I did it once, and fuck it. Yeah, we'll find out after that. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But no, Jesus, yeah, it is. That's the Mal's, the second run through. We were a bit frustrated at the start of the first one because we were red flagged. We were sitting in the start line for, I'd say, about 4 or 5 minutes, and we got going again. But like that, there was just massive slides and stuff, and which we kind of got cut out, and we stuck with the same tyres we had on Saturday, and didn't bother putting on a new set. We said just chance it, and we had big slides and stuff, but banged on the new set for the second loop and transformed the car, to be fair. But like that, yeah, Miles Gap is a fucking interesting stage. You need big Leroy's for it, to be fair, and yeah, to come out only 1 second between us is, yeah, it is fairly cool, right?
What they're really asking is, can you go much quicker up there?
Sure, we'll just have to see next year. Or we can go somewhere completely different and just go do it some other stage. June maybe, yeah. A Churchgate collection for Rob so he can go to Donegal.
I'm retired till July. I'll see you then.
Yeah. You'll have to face the music at some stage, like.
Yes.
I tried facing it one time and it cost me about 20 grand because I was stuck inside the hedge above my car and shit. Don't have fun memories of going up there, but hopefully at some stage we'll get to go up the road again, but not looking likely for this year anyway, but maybe next year.
Never say
any big sponsor out there listening to the podcast want to help Rob out.
And we've talked before about these guys in the modified. Like, is it a different atmosphere between the stages?
But before we go any further, I don't want to speak for the man, but Graham Scanlon has sponsored both these to come to Exeter.
We heard it here first, guys.
Yes.
And before we move away from the Ball Gap, we better ask Andy about the great time they set up there too, the first run. What do you say about that, Andy?
30, wasn't it? Yeah, wasn't bad for his first up there in the West Crowd in the drive, was it?
I wouldn't mind. We were 30 seconds slower than the first and second one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we gave you a bit of a surprise there, boys. He's that one where he's pulled out the bag on this.
Yeah.
You found the secret of the gap that they always used to talk about?
Yeah, we got her off Colin outside Jimmy Bryan Sports Bar there on Saturday evening. Two large bottles and we got her all of them.
You have to keep hydrated, like, to be fair.
No, that probably answers the question for you, Kevin. Yeah, the crack is good.
Yes.
No, what's called? No, yeah, brilliant. Actually, that's great atmosphere. Of course, I've seen the lads as well. Like, look, don't get me wrong, but there's good crack right the way down through the field, but I have to say I really enjoyed the weekend with the lads and that, and after the weekend before Recce weekend even we were down in Killarney and we met Colin and we got a few pints and Colin had to go home early because he wasn't really able for the pace either, so
yeah, early is 3 o'clock. Yeah.
So,
to be fair, I hope the boys at insurance actually did a big off on the way home as well, so no comment, Andy, yeah?
No comment.
Next question.
Ignition and dry cleaners the following day,
move on fast.
A certain drifter might have woke up with a 4-in-1 in his lap. Where he shouldn't have been. But yeah, I know like the crack is brilliant. Same at the Killarney, to watch called that the Historics as well, like exactly like Rob said though, you get a wet day like and you can't really get much crack out of it because you're in the cars and you're afraid to get wet in case you drag the moisture back into the car and all the rest of it. But the weekend it was brilliant, you get out in the sunshine, have a bit of crack, and knock around for a while. And there's a couple of small delays, nothing too major, so it's actually grand. The small delays is nice in a way. You get 5 minutes, just have a chat and all the rest, and take your time and then go on and do the stages, So, no, I have to say, no, I'm getting fond of the modified rally right now, but what you call it? I don't know if I'm just able for the pace the boys are on just yet.
Rob, does it require a different approach in the car too, with such high temperatures then as well too? Obviously hydration plays a very important role, but is there anything else you have to do different?
I think Colin and Andy took that to an all-new level. They started drinking a week before the rally to keep hydrating, but I don't think I was at that level. But no,
you're not far behind then.
I tend to do the hydrating after the rally. We haven't stopped yet, but no, not before. But sure, you just take it as we knew the weekend was going to be a harsh. You just keep up your water and hope for the best that you stay some way hydrated. I'd say I got a touch of heat stroke. I'd say the same as John as well. Like that when we came out of the car Saturday evening, it was fairly warm. No, we didn't have that in a long time. I'd say back in Sardinia, I'd say in 2017, I'd say but the last time I got was that hot the whole day, so Look, sure, just do the same thing. Just try and keep as cool as you can, and get water and sugar into you, and hope for the best that you don't get lightheaded or weak in the middle of any bit of the stages. But no, it didn't. It wasn't too bad now, to be fair.
And like Colin, again, probably the same question, something to throw to yourself then too. Like, is there anything different you can do, or is there a different approach to it, or do you have to just get as much water into you between the stages?
I'd say the only difference between that and December is only ice inside the camel pack. Plenty of it.
Yes.
But no, yeah, I like that. Look, it's trying to drink as much as you can. I'd say probably I was drinking fucking 2 litres a loop. But yeah, to me nearly coming out as fast. But no,
we'd be very fit and ready for all these things tonight. We've the physique ready for it, like, so we're good to go that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it
Diet plan, hydration plan, the whole lot.
A Benson and Hedges and a tin of Red Bull?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is. Yeah, it is. Look, you have to keep hydrated for this crack, especially inside in them yokes. They are a lot of work, I'd say. We were actually laughing at it yesterday that we had one moment all weekend, and we came off Block Beam at the first run, and my arms were hanging, and I nearly went off. There was a small bump over the finish line, and the wheel just nearly pulled out of my hand, and that was the only moment we had. But other than that, yeah, it was a funny incident.
Connor?
And yeah, I was going to ask Andy, for Connor Shanahan coming from the drifting background, like, how is he adjusting to basically, I suppose, tyre management? Where in drifting, you're not really looking after the tyres, whereas for, when you're trying to preserve your tyres in a rally for a loop, how is that going for him? Is there much of a learning curve?
Yeah, we probably got cut out on tyres, to be honest, over the weekend. Saturday morning we started with 2 fairly soft front tyres, thinking that that's probably the best thing to do. Between everyone, myself and Connor and Declan, said no harm to start on something soft to give him a bit of confidence. Probably didn't really realise how quick he was going to come onto it, and how quick he was going to go through the first 3 stages. So we wore the front ones off pretty quick on the first loop and caused ourselves a bit of hassle there. They went off pretty early, so that was a bit of a disaster to begin the rally with. We were on the same tyres then as Rob did all weekend from there on, then probably D3s and D5s. And probably what we found on Sunday was the power steering went in the car on us. Halfway up the gap the first time. We didn't get it kind of fixed all day. It was kind of coming and going all day. What we were doing was maybe coming into bends a bit too hot and heavy, kind of not turning in, just not getting turned in quick enough without the power steering. And then kind of through the bending, trying to correct that over and over and over again. And we ended up basically melting the front tyres off her in both loops. So both times go for Shanra, we got the lamination on the front tyres, and that didn't do us any good. But we put it down to ourselves more so than any issue with tyres, because obviously Rob was on the exact same tyres. He was he was 20 seconds a stage up the road from us, so it wasn't a tyre issue. It was more so just a bit unlucky with that thing, as I said, with the power steering gone and kind of sawing away at the wheel through, especially through Ballock Beam and the slower bends, and turning in 3 and 4 times and that kind of stuff. Just obviously we wore out on it. So yeah, it's definitely something to say. It's good for that you mentioned. Like, it's definitely something that didn't do us any favours over the weekend. And then sure, as he got more confident with the car then, especially on Saturday afternoon, Sunday then, and he was feeling more comfortable, sure, the drifting started as well, and sure, every junction was thrower in sideways, and I got caught rotten then. He set her up for a nice square left to slide her into it, and when he's setting her up, he flicked her off to the right, and sure, I told him no, it's a square left, and I no longer had said it then realised what he's at, like, and I said, I look like some fucking tool here now, and I actually saying that. And sure enough, he's still put up on Instagram as well for the whole world to see, so thanks for that, Connor.
I seen you waving out the window once there as well, Randy, right?
I got into myself, yeah, I was fucking hanging out the window, and kind of a monster, a whole lot, I was fucking delighted.
I hope there's a can of Red Bull, not a can of Monster.
You getting the van mixed with the Monster, yeah?
I had enough Red Bull on the right now to do thing for long time, so.
You'll get Connor Sarrazin in trouble.
Rob, you've tried
Connor Sarrazin.
Rob, you've tried the drifting, we've seen over the winter there, you've been dabbling with it, but like, to see what Connor has done, like, you really have to admire the guy's kahunas, like to step out from a drift car into the Milkman Starlet and do what he done at the weekend is an exceptional talent.
Ah, definitely. Jesus, and well, we were definitely questioning the time off Miles Gap, but we were scratching the head saying, I hope it wasn't right. But no, his times all weekend, he was very, very impressive, and to jump into that and like that, he's no fear of the Oak sliding or breaking away from him, which I suppose that stands to him a lot, and especially over the likes of Miles Gap there, where he can really just let the car slide when it needs to slide and whatever. So there's no drama doing it, so that's why obviously why he's so quick inside the modified car. There's no fear behind the drifting, or sure he's used to sliding at that pace, not to mind trying to drive straight in it. Sure, it should be no bother to him, but like that, it's a total different world. Pace notes, every rally I go out, I'm still changing pace notes, and I'm at it 13 or 14 years. So I can only imagine what he's trying to take in and trying to figure out and trying to pick out little things to make his notes that bit better and make him more confident. I walked into the truck inside Lieber and he was inside with Andy watching the DVD, and it's something I don't do, but he's obviously trying to figure out where he can pull an extra second and put in the work. And to be fair, it's paying off. His pace was very, very good over the weekend, and it shows with the result they had in the finish, even though they were still having fun sliding about, and Andy with the hand out the window and everything. Sure, you can't beat that.
But Andy, it shows the pro he is when he is putting in, such effort. It wasn't just a jolly. He was there. He wasn't just there to take part. He was there to be competitive.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, it was fun enough actually. Before the weekend started, we kind of looked at it and said, you know what, like Colin and Rob are really well up the road anyway. Like, so there's no point even thinking about where the lads will be. And then like John and stuff are there, but kind of said to ourselves, you know what, like if John or any of the lads kind of around that kind of area, Damien or anyone has a bit of trouble, maybe we get a chance to kind of race them and maybe get in on the mix for maybe third or fourth or fifth overall or something like that. So kind of once we got going on Saturday afternoon, we kind of looked at some of the times. I think stage 6 we had a pretty good time. I think we were third fastest on it. It was stage 6 or stage 9. I can't remember one or the other, but I think we were third fastest on that one. And we said, geez, okay, right. Yeah, we might as well keep on going here and put a bit of a push on. And obviously he did the Ballybema and Miles Gap back in December, so we said, sure, they're the two stage is the best, so we might as well give it a bit of a rip on Sunday morning and see. Hopefully, maybe we can race Damien and race Dennis Hickey. In the end, we just had no answer for Hickey, so we weren't going to get that. But then obviously he was stopped on Ballybema, so all of a sudden it was a big race for third, and the whole competitors came out then, and sure. In the end, I think there was 5.4 seconds between ourselves and Damien, and he pipped us in the end. But it was a well race up to that point anyway. Fair play to Damien or to Declan Gallagher. Declan is a gentleman, and obviously it was his car and he gave it to us for the weekend, and he came down for the weekend and ran the car with us. But we were going into the last stage, and there was 1.2 seconds between ourselves and Toner, and we rang him, and I'm not sure, he rang us, and he says what he's going to do in the last stage, and Connor says to him, sure, I don't know. He said it's probably not worthwhile now chasing third overall and wrecking the car after a good weekend. And I watched Colin Declan says, oh Jesus, sir, don't mind that, sir. Give her everything she has. So
it's fair enough.
Said, sure, don't be gentle with rental then, so on you go. So unfortunately the front tires gave in on us and we didn't get it, but like that, as soon as we realised that we were on the half decent pace, we said, sure, might as well make the best of it now, But like I said, fair play to the lads, like you just nowhere even close into the pace the boys are on. It's a serious pace the lads are on, and as Rob said, there couldn't be a whole lot left under that pace. There couldn't be much left.
And I suppose, sorry, Colin, come on there.
No, I was just going to say to Colin, when you're in the car, are you aware of the pace? Like, I know a helmet's on, you blinkered vision, you're looking at what's ahead and you're trying to take every corner. But are you aware of the actual pace, or is it only when you see the times at the stage end?
Yes, it was the first time in a long time I don't know how many times through a stage I'd be always resetting myself and half kind of looking at your surroundings and stuff, and instead of trying to pinpoint every corner, kind of right, okay, take a breather and go again. But to be fair, the pace was hot right the weekend, and it's class to be doing it in them cars as well. in my eyes, anyway, they're the most enjoyable car. I haven't driven Rally 2 car, Rally 5 car in an event yet, but I'd be sticking to the Escort for a good while anyway. But them cars are in my view, are the most enjoyable ones at the moment. But that pace was fairly impressive. And even going back to Connor there, like Connor's only after doing 2 events in a 2.5 car, and that's fairly impressive. Even to be even matching or beating the other 2 local drivers there, Dennis Hickey and Vincy O'Shea. Like, them boys aren't slow, like, and to be fair, what Connor was doing the weekend was fairly impressive. Like Andy said, he got a third in what stage, Andy? It was 9 or something.
Yeah, last stage, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and like that's a fairly intense stage as well, and there's a lot of work in it. And to be on that pace and in 2 events is fairly impressive. Like you can kind of write off the historics. The historics in the winter in a 2.5 car is just not for the faint-hearted. It could snap in you any second, especially miles gap. There's so many shiny patches, and it'll just throw your confidence big time. But it just goes to show when the dry, we half knew that Connor would get into the groove for it anyway this year. But hopefully he gets out for another couple more events this year.
And
see what way he goes.
I suppose the other thing about yourself and Colin too, it's not the conventional, it's not a Millington, it's not a KGP. You've went down a different route. You've went down the Honda route, and Colin, you went down the Volvo route, and it shows that you don't have to.
Yeah, but see, he's only half the power of me. Yeah. So I'm at way more than an advantage.
At least I can definitely explain it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And the weight is there as well, so it's not too bad either.
It's just a different route we went down. Keith McMullen has been my Honda engine since I first started in the Civic. Before my first rally, he mapped the Civic, and we just kind of stuck with him. And he built a 2-litre Honda for my brother's car, and he was on about the 2.5 Honda. And for me, it just looked like the better option at the time. He's an hour down the road. He pick up the phone at any time. He'll map it. He'll try and fix it. He'll do whatever he can to get me going. And to be fair, look, it's a crap of an engine. Any engine put up with what we put it through Saturday and Sunday, I definitely won't say a bad thing about it. And look, it's good to be racing the likes of Colin there with his 440 horsepower, but we'll struggle away down the back there.
It's halved when I happened to then.
And it kind of adds to that. Look, we're all not on the same things. We're all not driving the exact same cars. But sure, look, that's just the route we go. I have different suspension to Colin, different engine. We're slightly different cars, but sure, like that, they're the same thing at the end of the day. And if he beats me or I beat him, there's no. We do be messy about the engines and this, that, and the other thing. But sure, at the end of the day, we pick what engines go into them, and you're picking your battle. So yeah, I'm happy out with the Honda, and it's doing what I'm asking for of it now. So I'm happy out in it at the moment.
Yeah. And Colin, that Volvo engine, the sound of it is just, I don't know, it's not even comparable to anything else. It's almost more like a jet rather than a rally car.
Yeah, if I got a euro for every fella that said it to me the weekend, I'd nearly fund the entry for Donegal. Look, it has its fair share of problems, but we're ironing them out every rally, and it's looking good. It's definitely the most enjoyable engine I've driven, to be fair. But I couldn't knock the Millington either. The Millington was unbelievable. It was just a different route we took when we rebuilt the car that time, and we were very happy with it. And like that, it's just everyone's delighted with the sound of it, and it's just nice to hear something different as well. Because before, give it maybe 10 years ago, it was just Millingtons only, and then Kevin came out with the YBs, and then Rob has the Honda. There was a couple more Hondas kicking around the place as well before, but it was the first Volvo in 2.5 in an Escort. in Ireland. So it's just nice to hear something different, and
Yes.
pretty much.
Yeah, because Andy, like, I suppose like with the Rally 5, or sorry, R5 Rally 2 cars, because they're built so to such tight regulations, the cars are so equal. Like, we've seen it time and time again. That's all the modified. The variety is just, it's unbelievable that the guys have the freedom to build the car to their kind of their own specification as such, and to see the ingenuity and the engineering it would inspire you to look at the detail of some of the stuff and how they're so evenly matched with after all that.
Yeah, it's funny. We were only saying that ourselves actually. And the other day, myself and Connor looked at the times going between stages and looked at the gap second time through, and only a second between the two lads. Like, and they kind of saying, Jesus, it's mad. Like, to do whatever damn near 20 kilometers in two different cars, set up two different ways with, different sets of notes and all that kind of crack, and then to come out the whole end of the thing just a second in it. Like, so. I suppose to me anyway, that's what kind of proves how the pace must be very close to the edge in terms of, there couldn't be a whole lot left in it if they're getting that close to the very end. Like, so, no, it's brilliant to see. Like, it's great. To be fair, Ireland is good that way. I think in general for rallying, like, it's competitive at the minute. There's everywhere through the field, there's competition in Rally 2 class. There's competition there in the modifieds in the class 14s. There's competition down in the Rally 4 boys as well, like, the young lads coming through and all that, like, so a long way at last. It's brilliant, there was plenty of years there, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, where you go to rally, you kind of knew who was going to win it. There's only ever really one or maybe two guys that were capable of winning a rally and that kind of stuff. So it's great now to see to see that it's pretty open, and I look at it. It'll be a great race from Exeter when they all come down for the big modified prize money in September, and the boys will be up there now as well. Like, so that'll really make it.
And like, Rob, if Graham Scanlon is going to sponsor you as well too, it's going to just make it so much easier to go as well.
Oh jeez, if Graham will lend with enough, I've no problem. I'll go to Wexford.
I
If he give me
I
enough,
was
I'll go
wondering.
to Donegal as well. But
I was wondering, he was doing a lot of saluting the weekend coming out of the refuel zone.
It was always you get the big check on the way home then as well. See, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
You're going with something more than hangover this time.
Going up the road, there's only one fella could come down the road with the check. That's the problem.
One hangover, one check.
And I suppose, like, you asked the question of Colin, was it, could he go any quicker up the gap? Could you go any quicker up the gap?
Look, I suppose we'd say there'd be a couple of corners where you'd like to say, geez, I just didn't get that 100%. But to be fair, I came out of that, and there was a couple of places the car was just working very, very well the weekend. I've put in a lot of effort with the suspension over the last, probably before the historics. We got a huge step with it. We got very, very close to where I wanted to be, and played around with it after the first loop with the lack of grip. We put a few clicks in here there and played around with it that bit more. And when I came off it and it was 8:30, I said, there's a couple of places there where I've never gone that hard, down into the first 5 mile bridge there. The 5 mile bridge we know it as. Just mental. The car was so good, and we got around the next right hander, and I was like, right, this thing is working. Let's go! Like, and the back of it sunk in and gripped, and it just continued on like that. To be fair, but like that, if someone asked me, could you take 10 seconds out of that? Not a hope in Jesus. Could you take 5? Look, if someone was going to guarantee you that you weren't going to get hurt and that some other lad would pay for it if you were going to wreck it, I suppose maybe you'd take another few, but there's no way in the world you'll get 10 out of it with my car and me driving in it. Not a hope. But I don't know. It can't be too far off. I don't know what Colin thinks, but there's not a whole pile left in that 8:30 with them chicanes doing that. No, it's fairly close to where it is now. I'd be thinking anyway.
Colin, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, there's no denying it. There's definitely not much left in it. Look, you're always going to come off a stage and like, could I have went a little bit harder into that chicane, or could I have took on that corner a bit more? But no, like, look, there's always probably going to be some little bit of a hairline, but there's nothing in it. There's, like, as Rob said, 5 seconds. Oh, yeah. I'd love to see it. Maybe a second or two. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, not 5 now.
No, no.
Yeah, no, it was yeah, like we're going back to suspension there and stuff, and like it was the first time we felt it won in a long time with the car, and like that. Look, we have different suspension and stuff, as Rob said, and look, if you can get your car as close as you can to, let's say, you can go down the road in the van every day of the week and drive it the same way as you would with that, and everyone would go just as hard, but you have to kind of nail it down yourself and understand it as well. There's no point in trying to do them sort of times if you don't understand it either, because it just start getting dangerous, But yeah, it is fairly tight at that now, to be fair.
And I suppose, and to start wrapping things up, Rob, we've seen there, your good buddy, Noel, taking the 4 1s in a row. And as well as that, the Mikey coming out to celebrate with you as well, too, before, like, after all his troubles on Saturday, he could have been away licking his wounds, but he was there supporting you as well, too. Like, just guys go back to like, babes in arms to where you are now. I keep saying this, but it's unbelievable just the talent wasn't that there that play school all those years ago.
Yeah, tis mental. Mikey had probably the biggest accident of the rally Saturday, and he was up watching Miles Gap Sunday morning at the crack of dawn. I was surprised enough to see him Sunday evening at the ramp there. I thought he'd be at home now with the neck and back fairly sore, but he seemed to be fairly all right in the end. And another man, John McCarthy, first time sitting with me. We tried numerous times. One in Belgium, it definitely didn't work out. We wrote off the recce car and the rally car all in the same weekend. But this one was a lucky one. Yeah, John, first time sitting with me properly, and yeah, he was one of the gang. We used to go to John's farm, rallying a Subaru just around his farmlands, and his father baiting the whole lot of us for wrecking the roads back when we were 15 and 14, 15, 16, and he's been around for the whole lot too, so it was nice to have him there and to win the John Milan. He's the first person ever to do it, I think, in a way. He won it driving and navigating, so big accomplishment for him as well. It was nice to get that for him. So no, it's class, and like that racing, Colin, growing up riding quad bikes and motorbikes and every sort of a thing with an engine we could find as young fellas. Kieran sitting in him, great buddy of ours, done with years as well. So it's mad to see the group of guys that we all grew up together. We're all there doing the sport we love at the close enough to the top of our game anyway. And yeah, it's great to see, and it makes all the weekends even better. And even going out there, we were running behind Eves and Kieran the weekend, and that was great too. Boys that were racing with 5, 6, 7 years, and they're there with us and still having the crack, even though they're going up the stage in our 5 yokes, but sure, we're still there mocking and having the banter at the start lines, and it's good to see that too. So no, brilliant weekend, all in all.
And Colin, I suppose then last thing to you, we talked about tyre management, and is it 6 tyres over the whole weekend, and you really only put on 2 for the last loop just to kind of get a feel for how new rubber would react to the setup?
Yeah, it was first time using these Michelins. I think they've been around for a while, but I think not a lot of fellas can fit them on the car because they're so wide. And the front ones are actually a lot taller than, let's say, a Pirelli or a Hoosier. But yeah, we actually got on great with them. I wasn't too happy with them on the first loop on Saturday. Down to tyre pressures was actually Adrian from Pro Tyre Michelin that sorted the problem. I was actually going to change back to Hoosier, but I was actually running the pressures too low. And yeah, we brought him way up and transformed the car, to be fair. And yeah, I highlighted it on Facebook there and the post on Sunday, and it was fairly impressive. To do what we did on 6 tyres, like as Rob said there, the last loop on Sunday, he put on 4, and then I only threw on 2, and he was actually surprised that I left on the front 2 because we'd actually didn't think that they'd last, but they're absolutely perfect. And I'd go out in another day in them, to be honest. I'd do another loop in them, no problem in the world. But yeah, it was class. Very happy with them going forward. Look, they're a dry tyre. I haven't tried them in damp yet, the softer compound, but very happy with the hards, to be fair.
You can't beat the Pirelli anyway, so I don't know what he's on about.
Yeah. We gave him in a head start.
Yeah. If he put on the extra couple of tires, he might have been a bit closer.
Yeah.
So thanks very much there to the three guys. Great crack, as always. What can we say? Next up then, we're going to hear from John Archer then from Hankook. We're joined now by John Archer, field engineer for Hankook. John, you're very welcome along.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the Krunching Gears podcast.
Thank you very much. And I suppose, John, we've seen this year, Hankook has took the big step up now, and they're the official supplier now for the WRC Rally 1 teams. You've had a year of development up to this point, but so far so good.
Yeah, it's been a tough start for us in a way of we're not making excuses, but the decision was made quite late in December 23. We went into Monty 24 waiting on permission from FA to start testing, because Pirelli were still there, so we couldn't stamp on their toes. We had to get permission from Pirelli. They knew that we needed to get testing, and they were not awkward in any way. They helped us out a lot, and I know the guys from Pirelli well, and they were advising us, use these roads. This is what we've used, and they were very helpful. But yeah, it was straight in Monty testing, straight in Sweden testing, and that was the first part of the year. Then there was a sort of middle of the year where the FA decided, are we going hybrid? Aren't we going hybrid? So we did do a test in Croatia with Hyundai, and then it was sort of decided we would stand our ground and wait until a decision was made from the FAA, hybrid, no hybrid, which we're glad now we did sort of back down and stand still, because now there is no hybrid. So it would have been a lot of wasted money from our side developing a tyre for a hybrid car, a lot stronger, harder tyre even again for the downforce and for the power those things we're putting out. So yeah, we're back on track again. We're flat out now gravel testing for the up and coming Portugal, Greece, Sardinia. Those are the next ones that we have to get right. Those are the ones that quietly worry me.
Yeah, but this is the thing with WRC. All the different countries, and it's not a tarmac tire. A tarmac road in Spain is the same as a tarmac road in Croatia or whatever. There's so many variables. It's just not one size fits all.
No, you take it like the last round there in Canaries. I think, it seemed like Toyota have their homework done, and from stage one they were showing their pace. But every day it was different stages, different terrain. The Hyundai struggled. I don't know if it's something to do with geometry in their new car, but they definitely struggled, and they've admitted they've work to do. M Sport struggled a little bit. The teams all sort of struggled day one, but when they get their head around the tyre, it is a different package of a tyre than a Pirelli, but we are being dictated from the FA of a strong tyre. We don't want punctures. We don't want beaten denominations. So that's the way we're going. It has been tough to get where we are, but the R&D centre are learning from event to event. The teams are coming with ideas. They're feeding us full of information. So step by step, every round it will get better.
Because we're so used to the Hankook name. Even back 2011, it was Northern Ireland. The championship was sponsored by Hankook, and you produced the initiative with the junior drivers. And it's not just a fly-by-night company that's just appeared out of nowhere. This is a company that's a heritage of rallying and motorsport in general.
Yeah, no, definitely. Motorsport is a really big thing for Hankook. The circuit racing would be the biggest part. It's they have been now 15 years or so in the rally end of it, and they are pushing hard at it. They realise that where the grassroots rallying starts and what way it goes. And yeah, this is they'd seen themselves there in Formula E, but that contract ends now in a year's time. So they needed another goal, and they set themselves a WRC, and they hope that they can extend it even past the 3 years they have. They're working very hard, and that's one thing about the Koreans. They don't like defeat, and they don't like someone saying this product's rubbish. They will work their socks off, and they will maybe not produce a tire that's going to be the outright speed of a tire, but a tire that will have reliability, and they feel that's what the drivers need.
Connor, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, you mentioned one of the things coming into this was to reduce the amount of punctures and the debeating, etc. And compared to the last few years, that's certainly what we've seen. The tires, in the first 4 rounds have been extremely reliable. There's been very few punctures at the top end, and again with the debeating. And one of the comments was there's a very strong sidewall on the Hankook. Was that deliberate coming into the WRC, or was that something that was always a characteristic of the tire?
It's always been a characteristic of the Hankook tire, a strong sidewall. For the Koreans, in their eyes, it means no punctures and no risks of the tire delaminating. Safety in their eyes. Okay, for the engineers, it's hard work. Convincing the teams that yes, we lose a bit of lateral grip and stuff like that, but there's always ways around it. There's the technology in these cars this day and age. You can dial it out. And for us, the engineers and the team engineers, we just work hard to try and get the optimum setup for the teams.
And we mentioned about the variety of the terrain, and Kevin said there's no two roads are the same, and no two stretches of tarmac. Like what goes into getting the optimal performance from the tires when they have such variety and conditions they have to perform in?
A lot of it would be to do with car setup, working really close with the teams when we are testing, for them to get the best out of it. Tire pressures, how they warm the tire up. There's a lot in the package that you have to get right.
And I suppose, as like a road user, you think a tire is, it's probably the least vital part of the car, but it really is the most vital part of the car, because that is what keeps you in contact with the road. And it's those 4 black patches on the road that dictate where you're going.
You're right. It is those four pieces. So you have to treat them well, look after them. But the teams are now learning. I think some are still learning. Some have learnt. Toyota definitely have learnt how to get the best out of the tire, to get the best of the car. It doesn't matter if you put a Pirelli on, a Michelin, Kumo, MRF, anything. Everybody, you have to tweak the car.
Yeah.
If you put 4 brand new tires on your car that are different make than what you're used to, you will say, "Oh, this doesn't feel right," but it's maybe better braking in the wet or something. Every product's different. It takes a bit of time for them to get their heads around it, and they are dictated from the FIA how many days testing they're allowed. It's never enough. You do see them now going out and doing all their rallies to get a bit of test time. The boys done a rally before Gran Canaria. There's a few doing before Portugal. So there's ways around it, but still it's not enough testing for them.
No. And I suppose there's nothing actually beats having the car in a staged environment. Testing, you're using the same road a lot of the time, and you maybe become familiar. You're maybe not getting the best out of all the components, but where in a rally, you're different stages, different conditions, and at the clock again at the end, I suppose the clock doesn't lie.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's true what you're saying. The drivers, you go out and do 150 kilometers testing on a day. They know that road inside out. They know every little bump on it, and it's maybe not the best to get the best feeling from the tire. The 90% of them drive it blind. They don't need a co-driver. But when they go and do the little rallies, every stage is different. They're tweaking ride heights in between the stages. They're clicking the damper clicks, and yeah, there's a lot. They give a lot more feedback from my side, but anyway, on a rally than they would on testing.
And John, you mentioned there in testing, how you work with the teams, but on an actual WRC weekend, how does Hankook work with the teams? What information do you look for? What information do you provide to the teams and the drivers to help them make decisions?
To be honest, there's an engineer for each manufacturer's team, so one dedicated engineer, and they will work closely with the engineers of each manufacturer. There's another two engineers then that float around for the Rally 2 cars and Rally 3 cars. Basically, they go out and do a recce to see what they're up against, make a recce report, pass that on to the teams, and have the information that they can speak to the engineers. They know what stage they're talking about. They know if it's an abrasive stage or if it's 50-50 of smooth tarmac, rough tarmac. There's big cuts, there's no cuts. They're just sort of feeding the information to the engineers. To be honest, the engineers are that switched on that they are teaching us boys things now, which is great. They've been there, they've done it, they know how their car works. So they're saying, if we done this, we feel we would get this better from the tire. So it's a big learning curve for us. We've been in ERC, we haven't really dabbled with WRC before, so it's a massive learning curve.
And these are the best drivers in the world. We keep saying, we're biased, we love rallying, but these guys can get the ultimate performance out of cars and all the different conditions and all. And you've been working with these drivers now. Are they extra special? Is there that? Have they got that X factor?
Just the talent they have. They're just dedicated. It's probably like any sport. They put so much into it. But they are, you can tell the guys that are just born with it, it's just natural. Everything comes natural to them. They don't have to work hard, but they do work hard. They put a lot behind the scenes, and that you never see them. They're not. Yeah, they do party, but they're not the boys that are ligging about there. Especially when you're testing, they're out of the car, they walk around the car, look at the tires. They can't wait to get you in the truck to give their feedback, and then when you say things to them, they're actually putting words into your mouth. The more they get to know you, the more they open up, and they know them stages. They can say, "Oh, I hit," because I said to them, "You're lucky you didn't get a puncture out of the rims bent." I can tell you where I hit that. They just the exact inch to the road. They know where that big stone was. And in testing, they're like, "What do you want us to do?" It's like, as you go on the rally, don't drive around that stone. We want to see if the tire will burst or whatever. But they're dedicated to their job.
And John, is there any of them that are a tire whisperer? Who really does get the best performance out of their tires?
Hey, I'm not going to answer that question. I don't want to fall out with any of them. For sure, you've got the likes of OJ there. He knows within a couple of kilometers up the stage, he knows what the tire's doing. They all know what the tire's doing, but OJ would be very critical of any tire. So we just have to pacify him, keep him, on the right side of us, and keep working and proving to him that we are coming with tires that are worth him putting his effort in for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're not really put too blunt a point on. They're putting their faith in you. They're driving down that road as hard as they physically can, and that again, going back to those 4 black patches on the road, that's what's holding them there.
Oh yeah, for sure. The Korean colleagues wouldn't come with the tire untested. It's something we've never done. There will be significant testing done on it. They're putting their workmanship into a product that's close to their heart. So, and then they know that they can't put something out there that's going to, cause someone to have a crash, get injured. They don't want this.
John, sustainability obviously is a huge feature of the WRC. What technology or what's Hankook basically doing to make the tires as sustainable as possible?
When we tender for the contract, they have there was a file that thick coming from the FAA that we had to sign off that, where we're getting the products from, what's happening afterwards with the tires, how the tire gets let's say, destroyed and what it was used for. It's not just set on fire. There's, they're going, Hankook are really into their green side of it. They have to when you get into these big championships. But even, any product they use, it's all now going green. So there's a lot of work goes into it from that side of it.
And from a logistics point of view, what typically is involved in a WRC weekend from what Hankook has to bring, be it both in terms of personnel and the volume of tyres?
Hey, the logistics side of it would be massive, because number one, get the tyres from Korea to the warehouse in Germany. What basically it's two maybe to 3 weeks prior to the event, who's doing the event. So it's the tyres are then loaded onto the set of trucks or containers, brought to the each round, set up. We know who's getting what. Then the lottery's done for the Rally 1 guys. So the logistics side of it is massive.
Yeah, and I suppose that's where I was coming from earlier was, you said, you done a test day with the teams or whatever. Like, whenever they give you that feedback and you take it back to the guys and they feed it back to Korea, how soon is it till that appears on a tyre that has been bolted onto a car?
If the pressure was on, if we got something really wrong, if the pressure was on, within a month, they would have a new product back out there, testing again. But the good side of it is now the Koreans will send maybe 2 to 3 engineers on every round, every testing. There's 2 or 3 engineers. There's always a compound engineer. There's the carcass engineers there. So they're getting information now straight away. They're not waiting on me putting a report in to say this is what I feel. The last few seasons they have been coming more like since COVID times finished, done and dusted. Now they're traveling flat out again. That was a big stop for them for a while, but on event now there's always 2 or 3 Koreans with us from R&D.
Yeah, and I suppose we just can't focus on the Rally 1 cars. Like you're providing Rally 2, Rally 3, the ERC, and this is a continual development program. This is not here's your tyres, lads, away you go kind of thing. This is right throughout. Every tyre that goes on to every car, there's always been tweaked and just wee refinements made all the time, I suppose.
Well, it's not all the time. It's then we would play a joker, bring a joker out with a new tyre, because when you like the FIA events, the ERC and the WRC, you have to give the FIA one of every compound, every pattern that you're using. So they keep them in a store in Geneva, I believe it is. So like if they started to see then, especially the likes of ERC where we're fighting with all the 3 manufacturers, if they started to see Hankook just, blowing all our manufacturers away, they'd be saying, right, what's going on here? They would probably come and confiscate a few of our tyres, cut them open and say, hey guys, this isn't the same as the very first one you've done with.
Yes.
I'm not 100% sure if they can actually do this, if maybe it's just scaremonger from the FAA, but we would bring a joker out, or maybe a national championship. We would try a development of a new compound or something to do with construction, but it's not something you just can bring straight away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I suppose, sorry, come on ahead, Conor.
Sorry, I was just on that. You mentioned about cutting the tyres open, so it made me think. When you get feedback from the teams that the tyre isn't working for them, for example, maybe Canaries there. How much? I suppose what is your process for checking that the tyre was, from your point of view, up to all standards that you require for it, and the FIA requires certain, or what's the process there?
We have guys at the end of the stage that would take tyre temperatures. We don't take pressures, obviously, just because then if the team get a puncture on the next stage, they can point a finger at us, say, well, you use, altered something to do with that and blah, blah, blah. But we get the temperatures. If we did see any issues, we can inspect the tyres ourselves on site. And our Korean colleagues then often cut the tyre sidewall out of it, a certain amount of the tyre, they take it back to the lab themselves, do testing. But from the temperatures, we can tell quite a lot.
And you mentioned just tire pressure there. Like, we know some of the drivers have in the past gone below the recommended pressure, etc. Like, how much of a fight, inverted commas, is there between the team and the tire manufacturer around that?
There's not a lot. We advise them. They know, like, if they go a lot lower than our sort of ballpark figure and they start getting punctures and stuff, they know that we're just going to go, we told you so. They're working really closely. Like, as I said earlier, that we're learning from them. They're advising us on stuff. Yes, we know our limits and they know their limits. So we work really strongly together. We have to.
We're always looking for the local angle, and we haven't seen anybody going down the Hankook route yet, John. But like Craig Rachel and Keelan Grogan tested the tyres here before they went away to start the junior ERC campaign, and like they were raving about them and setting really strong times. Like, is Ireland maybe something that Hankook could be looking at? Well, Ireland and the UK, I suppose.
Probably, it's on the cards. Yes, it's one of those ones now. We've got the Swedish Championship now for 3 years. We're in talks with a few other championships for future. This stepping stone into the WRC will have done us a world of good. People will get to know that the product is good. Like, we're out. Take one. There is Czech Republic every weekend, and we've got a couple of drivers there. Philip Mars last weekend, I think it was 0.1. He lost the win from Simon Wagner. They're constantly beating Kopecky now, which is good. The product is known, but it's also one of those, a lot of politics involved. We have a dealer in the UK. It doesn't really pay for him to come across to Ireland, maybe to do 1 or 2 cars. Maybe if we do look into putting a bit of sponsorship money into someone to do the Irish Tarmac Championship, maybe we can do something like that. But at the moment, we're just concentrating on the ERC, WRC, and the dedicated championships that we have taken over.
And then I suppose finally, as a company, are you just happy with the way things have gone so far?
Yeah, definitely. We're very happy. Like, it was a big worry going into the WRC taking over from Pirelli. Pirelli's also a massive company, but they've Pirelli been in it before. They sort of knew what they were up against. Their first year maybe didn't go the best for them. Maybe that's why car regulations changed and stuff like that there. But they're Pirelli's strong. It is a strong tire. They're winning every weekend on it. And for us, we were sort of a bit of unknown in the rally world. We didn't have as much testing as Michelin and Pirelli. But as rally goes on, the more rallies we do everywhere around the world, the more feedback we're getting from drivers, which has been fed back to R&D, the better our tires are going to come. So I think, like, at the end of the 3 years that I hope will extend for another 3, I think our product is going to be is better than Pirelli ever was.
Huge thanks to John there. Fantastic for him to give us the time to give us that bit of insight. Like, he's a busy guy between ERC and WRC projects. So really do appreciate giving us that opportunity to, throw a few questions at him.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is the latest episode. So please like, share, rate, subscribe, all those things. We've said before, it makes a huge difference. So thank you very much and take care. Speak soon and bye.
That's the proudest day and the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.